Hi, welcome back to the channel. My name is Gemstone. I claim to be a psychic medium and an author. What I'm showing you is that today, and I'm going to extend it to the end of June. I'm offering free PDFs on how to remote view or how to channel. So just email me and I'll get back to you within 48 hours. What are you waiting for? You will get both PDFs, over 37 pages of information for free. If you're new to this channel, on this channel, I don't fit a particular niche. I look at anything and everything through a lens, hence the name of the channel. So I look at life, I look at death. My main concentration focus is consciousness, spirituality, paranormal, stuff like that. All right, let's get into it. Today is a cold day. Yesterday, we're in the middle of winter, and yesterday it was hot, like 24 or 25. Today, 4 or 5 degrees cooler. Okay, the commentary is Beyond the Planchette, training new souls to navigate the multidimensional communication maze. So, in this video, we're going to discuss something that may challenge many assumptions about spirit communication, psychic development, and the tools we often rely upon to connect with unseen intelligences. For decades, people have used spirit boards, Ouija boards, pendulums, automatic writing, dowsing rods, and countless other physical instruments as bridges between worlds. I do several things. I use Ouija boards. I can sometimes see spirits over people and I'll get information. I use remote viewing. I channel. Plus, I also do automatic writing. Now, these tools have helped millions of people open the door to experiences they otherwise might never have had. But a question has been emerging more frequently as we move through 2026. What happens when the training wheels become the limitation? What happens when the very tool that helped you establish communication begins restricting the communication itself? Because I increasingly believe that many spiritual seekers reach a point where physical tools can become bottlenecks rather than gateways. Not because the tools are bad, not because they don't work, but because consciousness itself may be capable of operating at a much higher bandwidth. Imagine trying to stream modern high-definition video through a dial-up modem. The modem isn't broken. It simply wasn't designed for the volume of information trying to pass through it. And I suspect something similar occurs when developing psychic perception. Many beginners need structure. They need feedback. They need physical confirmation. The movement of a planchette, the swing of a pendulum, the appearance of letters. The sensation that something external is happening. Those experiences help build confidence. They help the conscious mind accept that something unusual may be taking place. But eventually, the deeper challenges emerges. Can you receive information without the physical intermediary? Can you become the instrument yourself? This is where things become truly interesting. I believe that you can do all these things, but let's continue. The journey from using a communication device to becoming a communication device represents an entirely different stage of development. It is the difference between reading road signs and learning to navigate by intuition. The difference between listening to a radio and becoming sensitive enough to detect the broadcast directly. And this brings us to the first major obstacle faced by almost every developing psychic. Static. Not electrical static. Consciousness static. The noise generated by our expectations, fears, beliefs, assumptions, and subconscious programming. Many people assume that spiritual communication is primarily about hearing messages. I don't think that's the difficult part. The difficult part is separating signal from noise. Imagine standing inside a crowded stadium where 50,000 people are all speaking at once. Now, imagine trying to identify one specific voice. That is often what psychic development feels like. The challenge isn't the absence of information. The challenge is the overwhelming presence of information. Every memory, every fear, every hope, every unconscious bias, every emotional attachment, every expectation, all of these generate interference. And novice practitioners frequently mistake this interference for guidance. This is why people can become convinced they are receiving profound spiritual truth when they are actually hearing amplified echoes of their own beliefs. The spiritual world is not the only thing speaking. The subconscious mind is speaking too, and sometimes it speaks very loudly. This is where the concept of the psychic labyrinth becomes useful. I view consciousness not as a straight line, but as a multi-dimensional maze. Information rarely arrives in neat sentences. It arrives as fragments, symbols, emotions, concepts, impressions, textures, sensations, metaphors, brief flashes of knowing. Trying to navigate this labyrinth using only logic is like trying to explore an ocean with a flashlight. The flashlight isn't useless, but it only illuminates a tiny portion of the environment. The deeper layers require something else. They require a form of internal navigation, an inner GPS, a system capable of distinguishing between imagination and information. And this is where remote viewing provides valuable lessons. Now, for those unfamiliar with remote viewing, it was originally developed as a structured method of perceiving information about distant targets without relying on ordinary senses. What made remote viewing fascinating was not simply the results, it was the mythology, the methodology. Sorry, I've just eaten a packet of chips and I'm struggling with my words. The protocols were designed specifically to reduce contamination from imagination. In other words, the process recognized that the biggest challenge wasn't obtaining information. The biggest challenge was preventing the conscious mind from distorting it. This is why one of the most valuable concepts in remote viewing is blind targeting. The viewer doesn't know what they are trying to perceive. That lack of knowledge prevents the analytical mind from constructing a story. Instead of guessing, the viewer records raw impressions. Hard, cold, metallic, circular, blue, expansive. The information is gathered before interpretation occurs, and I believe spiritual communication can benefit enormously from this principle. Many people rush directly to meaning. They receive a sensation and immediately create a narrative around it. But meaning should come after observation, not before. Observation first, interpretation second, verification third. This simple sequence can eliminate a tremendous amount of error. One practice I often recommend involves recording impressions exactly as received. Not what you think they mean, not what you hope they mean, not what you fear they mean, simply what was perceived. If you sensed warmth, write warmth. If you sensed movement, write movement. If you sensed pressure, write pressure. Allow the data to remain pure before constructing conclusions. This sounds simple, but it is surprisingly difficult because the human mind is a storytelling machine. It wants patterns. It wants certainty. It wants explanations. And that tendency can contaminate genuine perception. Recently, I encountered an experience that illustrates this challenge quite well. I've been attempting to communicate with a deceased scientist. I won't mention who. The identity isn't important. What matters is the process. The communication appeared to contain scientific concepts that were far beyond my own expertise, and that created an unusual problem. If the information was genuine, I lacked the knowledge to fully understand it. But if I attempted to understand it, I risked distorting it through my own interpretations. In other words, There were filters operating on both sides. I was simplifying complex information because of my limited understanding. And whatever intelligence was communicating appeared to be simplifying information so I could grasp it at all. Imagine a university professor attempting to explain advanced physics to a child. The concepts become compressed, translated, reduced into simpler language. The original complexity may be lost, but some essence remains. That experience highlighted an important truth. Communication is never simply transmission. It is translation, and translation always introduces distortion. The challenge is minimizing that distortion, not eliminating it entirely, because complete elimination may be impossible. This is one reason I believe direct consciousness communication represents the next stage of development. The richer the communication channel becomes, the less information must be squeezed through symbolic bottlenecks. A spirit board may require an entire minute to spell a single word, yet an intuitive download can deliver an entire concept instantly. The difference is extraordinary. One is sequential, the other is holistic. One letter at a time versus an entire packet of understanding. But this transition requires practice, and it requires dismantling dependency on physical tools. Notice I said dependency, not usage. There is nothing wrong with using tools. The problem occurs when you believe the tool is the source. The tool is not the source. Consciousness is the source. The board is not generating the signal. The pendulum is not generating the signal. The instrument is merely translating information into a format the conscious mind can recognize. Once that understanding becomes deeply integrated, something shifts. You stop asking the tool for answers. You begin asking consciousness directly. One exercise I recommend involves gradually reducing reliance on physical feedback. Before touching a pendulum, ask the question mentally. Record the first impression. Then use the pendulum afterward. Compare the results. Over time, you may discover the answer arrived before the tool moved. The same approach can be applied to spirit boards. Before placing your hands on the planchette, sit quietly. Ask the question internally. Observe any immediate impressions. Only afterward engage the board. Again, compare. You may find that your internal receiver was functioning all along. The board simply gave you permission to trust it. And trust is a major component of development, not blind belief. Trust in observation. Trust in process. Trust in disciplined practices. Now, let's discuss something often misunderstood: the relationship between neuroplasticity and spiritual perception. The brain is not a fixed machine. It is adaptive. Repeated behaviors strengthen neural pathways. Repeated attention reshapes perception. Whether one interprets psychic experiences as spiritual, psychological, or a combination of both, the underlying principle remains. Attention changes the observer. The more consistently you practice noticing subtle impressions, the more readily those impressions become available. It is similar to learning a language. At first, everything sounds like noise. Eventually, patterns emerge. Then, meaning emerges. Then, fluency emerges. Many traditions refer to the pineal gland when discussing spiritual perception. I think it is important to approach this topic carefully. The scientific evidence does not support many of the extravagant claims often made online. However, what is undeniable is that altered states of awareness influences perception. Meditation, focused attention, relaxation, sensory reduction. These practices change how information is processed. Whether one interprets that as assessing spiritual realities or assessing deeper layers of consciousness remains an open question. What matters is the experience itself and the quality of information obtained, which brings us to what I call stabilizing the inner needle. Imagine a compass during a storm. The needle spins wildly. Direction becomes difficult to determine. Human consciousness behaves similarly. Stress, fear, anger, obsession, attachment all create turbulence. The stronger the emotional storm, the more difficult it becomes to identify genuine guidance. Spiritual development is not merely about increasing sensitivity, it's about increasing stability. Because sensitivity without stability creates confusion. The goal is not becoming more open. The goal is becoming more coherent. A coherent mind functions like a still lake. I shouldn't have eaten those chips. When information arrives, it creates a visible ripple. A chaotic mind resembles a stormy ocean. The ripple disappears among countless waves. This is why spiritual hygiene matters, not as superstition, but as signal management. Regular meditation, journaling, grounding, healthy skepticism, reality testing, emotional self-awareness. These practices help reduce noise, and reduced noise improves clarity. As you continue developing, something fascinating begins to happen. Information stops arriving as isolated pieces. Patterns begin emerging. Connections form. Themes repeat. The communication becomes less about prediction and more about understanding. And this may be the greatest misconception in modern spirituality. Many people approach spirit communication seeking certainty. They want definitive answers. definitive timelines, definitive predictions. But consciousness often seems more interested in expanding awareness than providing certainty. Instead of giving answers, it provides perspectives. Instead of eliminating mystery, it deepens it. And perhaps that is exactly as it should be, because mystery drives exploration. Exploration drives growth. Growth drives evolution. As we move forward into this new era of consciousness research, I believe we are witnessing the emergence of a different kind of communicator. Not someone dependent upon external devices, not someone obsessed with proving abilities, but someone capable of acting as a bridge, a translator, a living interface between ordinary awareness and deeper realities. Whether you interpret those realities as spiritual dimensions, collective consciousness, non-human intelligence, or unexplored aspects of the human mind, the invitation remains the same. Become curious. Become disciplined. Become observant. Learn to distinguish signal from noise. Learn to navigate the labyrinth without surrendering your critical thinking. Learn to remain open without becoming gullible. And most importantly, learn to trust direct experience while still questioning your interpretations. Because true mastery is not certainty. True mastery is the ability to hold wonder and discernment simultaneously. The future of spiritual communication may not involve better boards, better pendulums, or better devices. The future may involve better receivers. And that receiver is you. Thank you for joining me. I'd love to read your thoughts in the comments. Please keep them respectful. Have you experienced a shift away from physical tools and towards direct communication? Have you experimented with remote viewing techniques? And do you believe consciousness itself may be the ultimate instrument for navigating the multidimensional maze? Until next time, stay curious, stay grounded, and keep exploring the mysteries that exist just beyond the edge of ordinary perception. Thank you for being with me so long. Hold on a minute. This is what I ate just before I did this commentary. Don't eat chips when you're doing commentaries, guys. Not only do they get stuck in your teeth, chips go flying. But I never edit. Just like my psychic and medium abilities, when I receive information, even if it's wrong, I let the client have it. Also, when I do things, I never look up information beforehand. I feel that communication can cause contamination. They were good chips. My favorite. All right. Yeah, sorry. I shouldn't have eaten the chips beforehand. Anyway, I'll show you this again. And I ask that you please be kind to each other. smile at a stranger, you might just save someone's life. Thank you very much. Again, take care of yourselves because you matter. Love, light, and blessings. Sorry about the chips. Bye.